Hello and welcome to FutureFi, where we talk about anything and everything on the blockchain. Today we have KIOSKO and JPEG PAPI on the show, and in this episode we talk about how these two Phunks researched the blockchain to arrive at the shocking conclusion that Zagabond was behind Phunks, ZUNKS, and AZUKI. These are NFT projects that were left in the dust with some sticky strings attached, leaving their community in shambles. We're going to go over the full story in this episode, and man, is it a juicy one. So without wasting any more time, let's jump right into it. Good morning, JPEG. Good morning, KIOSKO. How you guys doing today?
Doing pretty good. How are you?
Doing well. I know it's good morning for me, but JPEG, you're in the similar time zone, but KIOSKO, you're in the future. You're in a much more advanced time zone than me right now. But I got my coffee. We're going to get into it. And I would just like for the listeners to know, starting with you, JPEG, and then we'll go to you, KIOSKO, just a little bit about yourself and what brought us to this conversation.
So I'm going to kind of jump in and basically give a rundown of how I got into Phunks. And that's basically where the story starts, is when I got into it. So it was July 18th. I kept hearing about these flipped CryptoPunks that got delisted from OpenSea multiple times, and then the devs rugged, and I had to have one, so I bought a couple and just kind of stuck around in the shadows for the first couple months. Basically, that was a really good idea, because then I started seeing these crazy people like Polly, Chopper, Kenobi just screaming about hold on to these things. It's the next big thing. And that kind of led us to where we are now.
Totally makes sense. I love the backstory there. And KIOSKO, just a little bit about yourself, what brought you into Phunks, and then we'll get into the juicy stuff.
All right. Yeah, I'm kind of a newbie of this Web3. So I started on July too, but not with Phunks. I entered the Phunks community back on October or November, when there was kind of a big hype about the new marketplace. So yeah, I was not part of the OGs, and for me it was just a long time to hear other talking about it and checking the Discord to see what happened before, like just gather information, like to be sure if it was like something I like or something I feel a part of it.
No, and that's huge. I think that's something the Phunks really embody is community, especially based off of this incident. And for the listeners, today we have these guests on because Zagabond, who was the creator anonymously of the Phunks, wrote a contract and took a royalty and kind of left this community in the dust. And I want you guys to highlight that, because my understanding is very surface level, and I'm sure you guys understand it a lot deeper. And these two gentlemen were able to go onto the blockchain, run an investigation, and find out that Zagabond was this anonymous creator. And, from there, I got a million questions, but I would just love to know what you guys were left with and just a clear understanding, because I just overviewed it and I'm not even that sure.
So when they left, I mean, it was kind of like they announced it. They left a long announcement in the Discord channel. There's two Discord channels for Phunks. There's Not Larva Labs, which is the marketplace, and then there's the OG server that the devs created. They left a large announcement making some early community members mods and like, hey, this can live on in Web3. This stands for decentralization. This has potential. So we were basically left with JPEGs that were flipped punks and a Discord server. We didn't have access to the Twitter they had with about 10, 12,000 followers. That was about it.
So at that moment, what was that like? So the Discord reads that, and then you have some people that like Polly and Chopper, like you mentioned, everyone's kind of making a community out of this. That happens. And what was like that next week like?
So it was weird. I bought Phunks probably 3 days before the devs rugged. I joined the Discord the day after the devs rugged. And that was like the first thing I saw when I joined the Discord, is this announcement like, hey, we're leaving, basically. And what I saw was something different than what I expected to see. Is it was the group of the community that was left coming together like, no, we're going to do this. We're going to control this project. We're going to make it something, even though there's no central party here anymore.
Awesome. And I think that's the narrative that like got me interested in finding the Phunks. We got Jason Klein on the show. And ever since, you know, because the word community gets tossed around a lot in the NFT space. And it's kind of just like people just want a big number in their community, not so much like a reason for being in that community. And I found the reason that you guys had was very unique, of just like, okay, we have this project now. We got rugged, but we, you know, essentially really respect and love the people that we've gathered with. And let's make justice of this. And that's where you guys come in, right? You guys start to figure out, I guess, I guess the question is like, what was the first question that you guys had? Like, who are the devs? Like, what was the investigation, or where did what you guys did even start?
So, yeah, I'll let KIOSKO take over this. It was a weird beginning.
Okay, so as I told you, I was not part of the Phunks during the mass happened last summer, but I was amazed by the new marketplace back on November. So I was attracted by how a few bunch of people, like three, Chopper, Kenobi, and Poli, made it happen, like regardless the fear of devs coming back and ruining everything. So they took a stand about it. Like they wanted to like keep the Phunks alive. Like I think that when you see people doing stuff, like doing something, regardless what's happening around them, and even if there are the devs or not, like if they are doing something for a project, you're attracted. You're attracted by it. Like even when you see someone working alone, at some point you start working too. Like you don't want to leave people alone. Like there is something powerful on people working and making stuff happening. So my journey started, like I was amazed by the certainty of the blockchain and the immutability of the blockchain. Like it's probably the main thing that let me get inside the Web3 or all the NFT game. Like I was like looking in the past, like you can, whenever you want, start digging around and see what happened. But as probably you know, like the blockchain is a mess. Like you see a lot of wallets and millions of transactions and blocks and timestamps. But luckily, we have a magnificent tool like Etherscan, where you can label addresses and make some private notes on transaction. So I started from that. Like I decided that probably to have more information about what happened, the main idea was like labeling all the Phunks holders, like finding who they were, like their Discord, their Twitter, even some in real life names, because everybody here thinks that they are anon unless they start using social media. And that's kind of a problem. Like all of us are leaving a lot of crumbs around, like for giveaways or whatever you want, like post your wallet in here and then Twitter have it. So you can check on the search banner, putting a wallet or IENS, and that starts like revealing who you are. So yeah, we started like gathering all the wallets to see if there were some patterns, and we did a massive work on it. Like right now I think I'm pretty close to finish the wallet you can have labeled on Etherscan, so I'm very close to 1,000, and that helps you a lot because you can see things like the pattern become way much clearer. But that was not like, that was just the beginning, like doing something methodically, just because seeing a wallet address, it means quite nothing, and it's very hard to connect the dots. So at some point on the original Discord channel, the CryptoFunks Discord channel, there was a call, like we want, like on April, or like at the beginning of April, we would like to make a team of people, of trusted people, to dig more and like share information about what happened with the devs. So let's make this private channel, like Dirty Devs channel, so we can think about it and brainstorm about it. And there, me and Papi, we and JPEG Papi, we knew each other, of course, because we were Phunks. But that moment started a true friendship. Like I saw that I was very into it, and he was absolutely, like, he wanted to find information with me and corroborate the information I had, and he used the blockchain like a magician, and the social interaction analysis stuff too. So we were working days and nights. Like, we saw that there was a high chance that we would have find them. When I talk to you about like Etherscan and say that it's a complete mess, you should really look into Rinkeby, the testnet.
Yeah.
And if you think Etherscan is a mess, you'll see that Rinkeby, Gurley, Covan, Rapstin, they are black holes, because you don't have the chance, like you don't have the ability to label addresses. So you have to do it by your own with piece of paper. And on Rinkeby, there are the real leads.
Yeah. I was just thinking that's a an interesting transition, especially with developers, right? So people that are listening that don't know, Rinkaby's testnet for mainnet Ethereum, and that is a way to follow key addresses, because when you're working there, you're testing your project, and that is quite clever way of jumping over networks, or essentially a different chain, same. But I love that. I love how you guys connected with a similar vision. At that point, I guess what was the goal, right? So it's like, even though, say, did you guys ever have discussions? Even when we find the address, like, what happens, or was it just like, I'm hyper focused, I just want to figure this out, and whatever happens, happens?
Yeah, I mean, it was like we knew we were close when we started putting together this like arsenal of wallets that we had. It was like right in front of us. We were just like, what do we do when we find everything out? We started noticing that AZUKI were in every wallet that we found. I was like, this is weird. So we started looking a little bit deeper, and then KIOSKO, he pointed out, he was like, they made it. It's Zagabond. Like, it's them. It was a very weird moment to realize, and then we were like, what do we do?
I'm trying to like enjoy the moment and thinking about the past, because like I remember clearly, like we were so focused on the blockchain, and we were finding a lot of wallets, like a ton of wallets. So just to be clear, the projects that Zagabond and company made are made not by amateur. This is not an amateur stuff. Like they live on, they they live on the blockchain since the beginning, so they know their stuff. I recently found a few other scammers, and you can see clearly when you have an amateur player in front of you. So yeah, I found a scammer in 1 hour last week because it was totally relentless and careless. But yeah, not comparable, not even comparable with Zagabond.
Well, I think that kind of speaks to the intentions too, right? It's if you're going to be that methodical and run types of projects like this, and with it just seems to me there's a reason why, right? It seems a little suspicious as well. But I do want to go back to that moment where you guys are doing all of this work. You guys are collaborating in Discord, getting, support, I'm sure, from the community as well, but more so the camaraderie and people kind of like uplifting this movement. When that started to click and you started seeing a lot of wallets connected to Azuki, what was that moment like for you two? Was it like, I'm sure that was just kind of a very rewarding kind of like, wait a second, there's something here, because I'm sure you guys were just getting pulled in so many random directions and seeing so many different wallet addresses and just seeing a bunch of different strings of characters forever. What did that moment feel like?
Yeah, I think from my perspective, I was every time skeptical about our findings. Like, I'm used all my life to double check, triple check, quadruple check what I have in front of my eyes, because like it was huge. Like, every wallet we were finding was a direct pattern to the previous. So there was a high chance that they were connected. But of course, having just a string, a line of code, you are not sure of it. So usually, like, a lot of times, me and JPEG, we started from the beginning. Like, we erased everything and said, okay, if we want to double check this, we should start again, like, and see if we didn't like put something into the equation that was not like genuine. So yeah, we did it. Probably like we found the devs at some point, but we waited weeks because we checked again and we found other wallets, we found other Twitter handlers, we found everything. We were not like ready to know what would happen after. We just wanted to have more and more information and like be really sure about it. It was huge, and we were not talking anymore just from Phunks, ZUNKS, Tendies, and other project that Zagabond and company rugged. But we were seeing a clear pattern for AZUKI, like the biggest project of this year. So it was not easy. Like, I remember clearly, we need to be sure. Like, we cannot say something like this and okay, let everybody decide on our findings.
Yeah, I appreciate that too. It's something that, especially in today's climate, people are so quick, because there are a lot of scammers just to point the finger. But I think triple checking and doing that and making a proper case is the right thing to do. And that's ultimately what you guys did. And so from that finding, I'm curious of that next section of what happened. And we can also go back to this time, but right now I'm thinking, okay, so they've confirmed. And then how soon from this moment to the moment that Zagabond went on the Twitter space or wrote the article, what kind of time lapse was this?
So yeah, the article was something that he was like, at some point, our findings, me and JPEG PAPI, we knew that we needed to involve someone else. So we involved Polly in the discussion, because like 3 heads are always better than 2. And the idea, like every time, the idea is to confront them and see what they were thinking about it. And at some point happened that we were sure about our findings, so we started to release a piece of the story. And very soon happened to be released the Zagabond learning letter. So, and
Yes. And let's explain for the listeners what the learning letter was. That was the Medium article, correct? Where he explains the projects that he worked on leading up to Azuki, kind of phrasing in the sense, from my understanding, like, I worked on all these projects, I'm becoming better at this, and trying to frame this story of I've done this, this, and this to lead me to Azuki's. But ultimately, what that was doing, and why he, I feel like, did that, maybe you guys can speak to this better, is like kind of taking ownership, like indirect ownership of the projects that he left behind. And for the masses, people could read into that. But for the people that were left in the communities that he did this to, had a much different story to tell, because it wasn't just like a learning experience. These contracts were left with royalties attached, a lot of financial incentives, a lot of things that, that cause these communities to really bound together and do something like these 2 gentlemen have done. And it's definitely a story that will go down in NFT history, in my opinion. But
I know, like, compared to Azuki, all the other rugged projects seems so small. Like from Phunks, ZUNKS, Tendies, they cashed out a few $1 million. And in this space, I see a lot of people like talking about 10, $100 million. And Azuki cashed out on their wallets after the minting and from the royalties more than $100 million. So yeah, it's not very easy to compare these little projects that we are part with a super successful project of Azuki. It is what
True.
it is. Like, they were rug. All the people that invested in these projects, they were made some promises and they weren't fulfilled.
I just want to give my opinion on that article he wrote.
Please, yeah. And I'm just trying to be as biased as possible, but I have my own opinions. But I would just love to hear the juice.
So I thought it was completely ridiculous. To the public's eye, nobody knew that he was caught, like, before this happened. He took this article and used it as the easy way out. Like, I'm the good guy. I'm going to admit that I did these projects and I was just learning. It's just for experience. And now I'm building Azuki and it's the main project. And this is where my focus is. He tried to play this like, I am the good guy. Have sympathy for me that I did this, but I'm coming out, when he was really caught red-handed and tried to use that and use his following, the whole Azuki team, basically, as like, we're the good guys. We're doing this for Azuki, that we came out with this information. When we saw that, we went to a private channel. And we're like, what is this? Like, this is absolutely crazy. He just came out and basically, he did admit to it. It was a very stunning moment for everybody that did know in private, because we didn't go public until everything started to go forward with the smart contract and the royalties and the dev wallet Phunks. So it was a very stunning moment for the people that did know what was going on in private.
I can imagine. I mean, especially with the hard work, right? Like, this was essentially, I'm sure you guys were enjoying the process, right? Of working together, kind of learning the blockchain. I'm sure at some point you kind of potentially lost focus of like the end goal of like how this is going to round out. And then that moment happens and you're just like, what the hell? Like this is the, I guess what I'm hearing is like, this is the position he's taking. And again, that's such a disingenuous position to take, just trying to frame it and using positive words like learning. And even though how silly it sounds at the end of it, right? It is like another strategic position that he's trying to put himself in. But I guess back to from when you guys concluded to that article, how many days, hours, weeks was that?
I'd say a month and a half that we were into it. KIOSKO started way before me. And that's kind of where, like, when we came together, it was, okay, you're really enthused to do this. I am as well. So let's kind of work together and just see what we can find. So, I mean, we were in that for a while before anybody knew.
Gotcha. And then when you guys were quadruple checking, I guess what I'm getting at, when you guys kind of had Azuki's name floating around, and you're like, all right, and doing the right thing respectfully before we kind of tell other people. I guess from when you started to feel confident enough to tell other people, and till that article came out, how long was that?
There were very few people knew about it because we didn't need everyone to know what might happen or not. Like, nobody had any like precise goal. Like, the real goal was like regaining the contract ownership. So at some point we were hoping to have a discussion with Zagabond and the others, like, to, okay, we know everything, and I think this game is over. Like, all the guys know that I'm a good chess player, and I was saying to them, like, I was telling them, just wait. Like, he's in the checkmate is very near, but the game is not over. Like, we were sure that he would try to reverse the narrative, and he did with
He tried,
the letter. Yeah, we did it with the letter, and after that there was the interview with Andrew Wang that was probably more ridiculous than the letter.
Yeah, that one. I mean, controversy is everywhere in this situation, naturally, right? But so much more than needed, because at the letter to that interview, that was like very, like, the man had like 500 more chances and still fumbled over himself, because when you're doing the wrong thing, it's transparent, right?
Like, we are talking about really high IQ people in it, like major in the best university in the world. So, like, at some point, I know that when you have your back pushed into the wall, you make mistakes. But I was not expecting it. Like, I see, like, I really appreciate all their devs work, like just the development stuff, not the scamming or ragging stuff, because all their contracts are huge. Like, they are innovators. I can deny it.
Yeah, I think it's almost fair to say, like, it's the developers may have not even known the motives of the marketing, the team. I'm not sure, you guys probably know deeper, but like, you know, a talented developer is, is a respectable thing, but who knows, like, what kind of
maybe we should separate things. Like, when we talk about Azuki, we mean Kiru Labs. We mean the head of the Azuki. I know that there are a lot of good people working for Azuki, so all this was not part of it.
Yeah, and that's another thing I was thinking too, right? Another interesting thing I saw after the news broke and all this stuff was similar to the Phunks. Like, some of these Azuki holders were similar to Phunks in that stage of just like wanting to get into a project, meeting people, and then now they're in this like situation where they're kind of, have to make an opinion, band together, or kind of decide.
If your leader is a scammer and he won't step down, like there are a lot of people holders, there are a lot of people working for him, but he's still there.
Yeah, they need to take notes from the Phunks.
Maybe it's hard because when you see like everybody asking, can devs do something, can devs do stuff, you know that like you rely on other people's efforts. But I'm sure there are some giga brains around in Phunks. I'm sure of it, and I know that there are a lot of Azuki too.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they should step up and not rely on a scammer.
Yep. And then, so another question I have is, so that interview happens, and before I go further, I just want to make sure I'm correct. I think Guilt got to Zagabond, and the contracts got put back into the Phunks' possession.
And that was a process in its own.
Oh, let's dive into that.
So we decided to dox one of the devs. It was a hard decision, but when we saw the narrative was changing every second from Zagabond, we decided that maybe they should start listening to us and have a conversation with us. So yeah, I know like everybody wants to be anonymous around here, and I get it, I appreciate it, and I stand by it. But I don't put criminals on the same level, not at all. And that's, I know, like every time I think about it, I'm not fully sure about it. But yeah, we wanted to be heard, and that particular thing started a conversation with Zagabond. So Zagabond opened up himself, like, and he said, "We can do stuff. We can give you back the contract and giving you back the Phunks I have in my dev's wallet." And so it started another game, another chapter, like the real final chapter of the game. And there are different views of it, point of views, because at some point Zagabond tried to reverse the narrative once again. And there are some screenshot around about our part threatening him. But of course, like you read some pretty nasty stuff on Twitter every day, and he tried to put some time on us. Like, I need a written statement that you are not going to harm me or my team. We said, you are not going to get anything from us. Like, don't even ask. Like, I have no idea why a criminal wants a written statement about something. So after that, he asked who was the right person to have the contract. So the contract was transferred, and that started the real final chapter of it. Like, he mentioned that he would have give us back the Phunks, the minting money, and the royalties money. So we made a fair sum, and that opened also another path for the other community has been rugged. So ZUNKS received a lot of money too, and that was huge because we want people to feel the victory, like the ruggers is gone. So from our point of view, there was a little chit chat about the money. So he asked how much exactly we thought that it was the money that went out from our contract. And he started saying that he needed 2 weeks for making it happen. And for me, it was kind of hilarious because I was seeing every day millions of dollars going back and forth from Azuki deployer wallet. And he started asking for 2 weeks, and it ended up in 3 hours. So yeah, he had the money, he had the meaning. I don't know why he wanted to take time. Yeah, at some point we knew that it was just trying to cover his stuff, and he was like putting some riots on Azuki. So there was some quarrel, like some litigation between Azuki holders and Phunks holder. So yeah, they like to create a nice narrative, and they always do. Several characters.
They're clearly good at it.
Yeah, they're good. Like, I respect it. Like, if they were not scammers, I truly respect that. That's good. They know their stuff. So yeah, we ended up with a huge victory for us, for this space, for everyone.
Yeah, and that's the bigger story here is like, trying to get new people into this space, knowing that there's, rugs everywhere. And some of them are kind of clear right from the beginning, even for someone that's not that experienced. But when, valid projects are getting completely rugged by like sophisticated scams, and then the community coming back and doing the right thing, that's gold. Like, to me, that's really um, um, impressive and a cool thing to witness. And yeah, I think what you guys did was very noble, and I'm sure it almost felt like a game at one point, right? Even when you said like this is the final chat, like seems like the final boss, like you were. Just...
Yeah. No, man. Like when you say things about us, I've got chills. Like we had a tremendous time. Like I found a true friend. Like me and Papi, we share things every day. We are continuing to. We are still looking inside blockchain every day. We share findings and we validate to each other, and we speak about everything. I didn't have a real friend on this space before him. Like, he's my best friend and first friend on Web3.
That's for sure. So I mean, we've like obviously everybody knows people in the community. Like you find mutual, almost friends where you guys talk in the community, the Discord, follow each other on Twitter. But like, it was super dope because like I don't even think me and KIOSKO spoke until like 3 weeks into our search. Like, we didn't hop on a call. It was crazy. It's a crazy story. It's hard to explain all the details, but it was fun. I would love to visit KIOSKO sometime, meet him in person, but it's been great.
Sounds like that definitely has to happen and will happen, right? I mean, it's just a matter of time. Same story for me. Well, not at all same, but similar. I met Damien, who I started this podcast with, and our community. And we ended up meeting at ETH Denver, and very similar. It's like, yeah, you meet a lot of really cool people, but I consider him a very great friend, along with Neptune and Courage, who have done a lot for the pod, or on that. Courage is on the podcast as well as a co-host. But I know what you guys are saying. When you put a little bit of vulnerability and work involved, you can really start to meet some very, very genuine and form deep relationships, which is really cool and kind of like a very unheard of part of this space, or not unheard of, but just like something you wouldn't expect.
Yeah, like for me, the most surprising thing that happened after all this mess, it's that people are starting to want to be more part of the project. I'm talking about Phunks. Like, people saw the efforts that we as a team made, and they want to do more. They are inspired about it. Like, people are doing crazy stuff every day, and I don't know. I like to think that we are part of this. Like, we are part of making them build something, create something.
No, that's 100% true. I can even say for myself that this story led me to appreciating and being highly interested and getting involved with the Phunks. Because, I mean, a lot of, like you were saying, Azuki, these guys, if they were noble and, had the right intentions, they're great storytellers. But at the end of the day, it's like a story, like a cinema, like you would go see a movie that's directed, you're getting spoon-fed a story. But with the Phunks, it was like something that evolved that you were watching in real time, something actually happened on the blockchain. It was very much more interesting to me than a Foonsbed story. So that's why I'm even here interviewing you guys. I was genuinely like, wow, this is something else. Even as an investor too, it's like this project has merit because there's something going on. It's actual community coming together, fighting fighting the bad guys.
No, man, like of course, probably like you and JPEG Papi, we are part of several communities because we invested in several projects. I've never felt anything similar to Phunks. Usually when a project has been dragged, everyone
turns against each other.
Yeah, turns against each other. They want part of the money. They try to exit liquidity on everyone.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's different. It's different. That was the main reason I was inspired by the Phunks. I know, like, I envy people that were part of it on June the last year, but I studied so much about the past that I feel I was there. I read everything. Like,
yes, you did.
like really everything. Like I read the blockchain, of course, but I read all the Discord. I read everything on Twitter. So yeah, I create a different life of mine. Like now
So
I
one-
know everything.
No, that makes a lot of sense, and I think, I mean, when you're that deeply embedded, naturally, I would imagine that you'd, that makes a lot of sense. But the one thing I don't even know is the ZUNKS. So this victory led to another project that Zagabond built and ran away with. Got their contract back, and now what kind of like, is there a bridge between the community? Like, what's just going on there? I'm not too sure.
Let me jump in on this one. So this is really weird. Obviously with KIOSKO, he mentioned how Zagabond was like, he wanted a 2-week period to give us the contract, the money, the Phunks. And he wanted a written contract that we wouldn't release any information. And I was curious, just obviously putting in this work, I wanted to know how ZUNKS were doing, what was going on. I never invested in the project. All I heard was Paulie in the background screaming, ZUNKS is a scam. Same Funk devs made ZUNKS. Don't buy them. So that's what I heard, and that's why I never kind of looked into them. But I just wanted to know what was going on. And I wanted to know their process of receiving royalties and everything that was taken from them. And it was basically like a, hey, you guys, here you go. Here's your money. This is what we took from you. It was just a handoff. Like, there was no like written agreement offered. There was no crazy thing like that. And they're now working side by side with Zagabond, it seems like, because I saw he shilled ZUNKS.
Oh no! Interesting.
Yeah,
interesting.
it's like the little brother. Like the first one needs to open up a wall, and the little one has some help. So yeah, the Phunks open up the path to regain money and ownership of the contract, and the ZUNKS came by. I'm very happy for them. I really hope do great stuff with the money and everything they have. I just saw that they are like in very good terms with a scammer, and because they are talking to each other. I have nothing else to add. I don't want to. Yeah,
Yeah, that sounds like, someone's in a toxic relationship and you see them like hanging out with their ex-girlfriend and you're just like, I can't tell them no, like they're going to make their own decision, but they want to see you get hurt again.
We're the neglected middle child as Phunks.
Hey,
You got
man.
Zagabond, the big brother. You got ZUNKS as the little brother, and then we're just kind of in the middle.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. So I guess there's a lot to unpack there, right? Like this is happening now. And when you say talking, I mean, to me, it's like, okay, they can stay in communications, but what's happening that makes you guys feel, or not you feel, but make people think that they're working together?
Oh, just there are tweets, there are like statements by people of the community that says we are working with Zagabond to achieve some of the things that we want to achieve.
Yeah, it's crazy. He's able to.
Yeah,
it's happening with the Azuki too. Like
that's crazy. Like I can believe it. Like usually this happen if the community doesn't believe in itself, in its existence. Like I can't think of a future without my leader. And he didn't find a good ground to operate on Phunks. But we are sure that they are still inside our Discord because they still have Phunks on their wallets. So
and you know that.
Yeah, of course. They are looking at us, and sometimes we make fun of them.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, this is truly a fascinating story. And I have so many so many questions running around, but I also want to give you guys a chance to I've been directing, but anything else that I've overlooked that you guys want to bring up that have been on your mind? I know JPEG, you've been listening. Is there anything that you want to touch on a bit more?
There's one thing that it really sat with me. The Phunks never. We had the marketplace built. Shout out Chopper. Shout out Kenobi. We never had the project. We never had the smart contract. If Zagabond decided to change the actual image to anything he wanted, he could have. And I think that was like the main goal that me and KIOSKO had mutual ground on, is like, we want this to be locked in so it's forever. Once we get the smart contract, this can't be rugged. So that was like one thing. This could have been rugged 2 times, 3 times. Obviously, OpenSea rugged us. Zagabond rugged us. They could have changed the image to anything they wanted throughout this 7-8 month period.
So the images was never hosted on IPFS. It was.
I don't believe so.
They were, but I think the token Yuri part of the contract was open, so they can.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, so they can change it, and we could have find something different.
Interesting.
But we were like the Phunks community. We were already think about a rapper, so we were ready. We were ready on everything. Like the community is huge, and they perfect. They are perfect. But yeah. I think that something that maybe people are not understanding now, that without a scammer owner of the contract, all the assets that people has in their wallets are now safe, are now secured. That this brings a huge value on it. Like we were, like everyone was like kind of terrified about scam devs popping around and playing with us. Like when Zagabond changed the royalties on Lux Rare and made $1 million in just a second. So yeah, there are some pretty nasty stories about it, and people were afraid of like being rugged again and again and again, and now it's not possible. Like nobody can rug Phunks ever again, and it's huge.
No, it is. And I think, yeah, I mean, I love it. And it sets a precedent too, I think, of people that have that poor mentality of like, I could take advantage of this situation. But seeing this, they're like, wait a second. Like you said, there's breadcrumbs all over the blockchain. Yes, it's for privacy, but by nature, you know, it's transparent. And that's what we like about it. And ultimately, it shows that if you're a bad player, that only lasts so long. And like, cut it out. Like, come on. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I do believe that you can rug a project and never enter the space of NFT in your life and be free. But usually it doesn't happen. Like, if they didn't make Azuki, probably it would have been much harder. But they were gone for a few months, and so we started digging like thoroughly at the right moment. Like, at that point, they were super happy about Azuki, so they left a ton of crumbs around. And
Yeah.
people make mistakes when they start to having too much money, and
Oh, yeah.
if they are not clean, of course. If you are clean and you don't worry about anything,
Yeah.
you don't worry about the crumbs you leave.
So, two questions. Like, what were you guys doing before Phunks, career-wise, just personally? And then what are you guys working on now? What are you guys looking forward to?
So I don't want to go into my real life too much.
That's fair.
I
That's
don't like
fair.
to talk
Very
about
fair.
that, but I mean, I got into crypto probably, well, crazy backstory. I invested in Doge in 2018, not to brag. But I really got into crypto probably late 2020. And then I kind of noticed these NFT things. I brought it up to one of my close friends, and he was like, no, that's stupid as hell. Why would you buy a picture? I was like, I think there's a lot of value behind this, and it could go really far, or it could be just an early fad. And I got really heavily invested around May, June, July of 2021, and that's how I kind of got into this NFT experience.
Gotcha. And then, I mean, now that the contract's back, you know, naturally you're a self-driven worker. Like, what are you working on? What are you looking forward to? Or are you just
Me and
anything?
KIOSKO discussed this. We kind of want to follow this path of where, I mean, obviously we got inspiration from Hotshot and NFT Ethics, where they're doing this stuff. They're revealing all this information about scams and protecting the community in the space of these bad actors. I think we want to keep on that path to where we're still just finding stuff out and revealing information that we find so people can see and read and just become smarter.
I love that. I love that. I've never felt so happy about a good guy IRS.
Yeah, from my side, I really thinking about helping people to look closely and better into the blockchain, because I see so many people that are investing a ton of money of their savings into it, and they don't know how to read a chain.
Mm-hmm.
So every time they get rugged, they are like, they don't know how to do. Sometimes it happens that also the contracts deployed for the rug to be are easily detachable, detectable. Like, you can just read a contract before it's minted out and see, okay, this is going to be a rug. Like, something is not clear, something is missing, so the owner can take advantage of it. So yeah, I'm trying to, like, telling people, you should look this, you should check the blockchain. It's not easy, but it's free.
I very much agree with you guys and share the vision. I mean, that's one of my big goals in this space is for education and proper onboarding, because it can be a, very scary and you can make some very bad decisions very quick. And just having a little bit more knowledge can really prevent a lot of that and really make this place a lot more sustainable and, onboard more people, to meet, and help out people all over the world. And, and I completely agree. I think like Etherscan at first glance is kind of confusing. And I think building better interfaces and more friendly UX, UI on some of this stuff to really just highlight the key factors is something I'm passionate about. And yeah, I completely agree. I think education and getting people into the space the right way is very, very important, especially now more than ever.
Yeah, I agree totally. Like we are on the edge of like disrupting this space or make it like so user friendly that people want to onboard this.
Mm-hmm.
So it can happen any day. Like the real big bang of it, like people going far away from NFTs and Ethereum, or million of people starts to getting on board because it's good. Like it's not something very easy because like scammers are on every corner.
And they're not just in crypto. They're not just in Web3. That's another thing I always like to highlight for people is like people think that Web3 is where all the scammers are. There's where some of them are right now, but there's scammers in all walks of life. There's people still calling the elderly trying to get their social security numbers. Like it's everywhere. It's a shame, but it's cool to know that there's people like you taking the time to point this out and then letting them shoot themselves in the foot in a Twitter space.
Yeah, I think there is this misconception about the NFT or Web3 stuff that happened last year during the big bull run. Like people invested money in projects that they didn't know anything about it, and they were massively rewarded.
Mm-hmm.
So after 11 months, there are people that invest without knowing anything about the project just because it happened before. So that's where the scammers are acting. Like this project can be the next big thing. So invest first and maybe dig into it later. Who knows? But invest it.
Yeah, it's a slot machine right now.
Yeah.
I was going to shout out one of my friends that got me into crypto. His name's Arbernaut. His motto to me was 8 first, research later. Not financial advice. Don't listen to me, but
it's worked. It's worked for a lot of people and like especially with NFTs, right? I do know that it's the way that you kind of see the first glance of the whole project, the art, that first 2 minutes, it feels like almost for me, you kind of feel it and you got to ape in or it's a little late. So, I mean, in the NFT space, 100%. When it comes to DeFi and other protocols and other projects, research is suggested, but but who knows what the right way is, right?
yeah, NFTs move so fast. It's crazy.
It really is. It's a collectors slash gamblers slash and then you got the giga brains like that just know where things are moving. But I want to respect your guys' time, and I really love this story and want to keep up with you guys. I like just the whole vibe of this conversation. KIOSKO, just the way that you truly are just trying to and JPEG, the way that you guys are just trying to like just highlight and build, like showcase the transparency of the blockchain and just allowing community and people to do what they will of what's there, but they can't decipher of it. Like you guys are just playing that decoding right now. Hopefully in the future, it's a lot more transparent. It's easier to read. We don't have to dive into Etherscan and do all this stuff. There's a nice interface, but for now, hats off to you guys.
Appreciate it.
And in the show notes, we will have links to JPEG PAPI, KIOSKO, so you guys can keep up with them. And if there's anything else you guys want to leave the listeners with, please.
I think I'm all good. I don't know.
No, I'm good too. Like Banzi, thank you so much. It was like a very good talk, a very good chat we had. And you're a funk now, so
Yeah.
That's your family, your fan.
Hey,
Yep.
let's get funkadelic, guys. Well, what's happening? Hopefully we won't have to bring you guys on for another rug, but the way things are moving, who knows? But until then, I'm gonna be around, and keep doing your guys' thing, and let's sign off for the funkies.
Thanks, Bunzi.
Welcome to FutureFi, where our mission is to educate and elevate Web 3.0. Prepare for exploration in 3, 2, 1.